Hey everybody, this is Heather and Jenny with Surviving Darkness. And this is episode 26. We have a special guest today, I guess you'd say. It's our cousin.
Is her name?
Nona. Wanted to verify that we could say her name.
Yes, you may.
She just wanted to come on, and we asked her to come on too to kind of explain some of the stuff that she's gone through with the family and some of the just experiences that she's had and some of the things that she has gone through over the years also.
So it might be more than one episode because there's a lot to cover because she's like really jacked up from the floor up. Just kidding. Just kidding. No, we've all gone through a lot. I mean, we're on episode 26 and there's still stuff that we've shared that we don't even remember and things that come up. So over that many years, there's a lot of stuff that can happen.
Yeah. And when we had our other cousin on, it's always nice to have somebody else to come on and for one kind of validate that there are things that have gone on in the whole family, like we have said, but then to talk about your experiences with your own traumas and things like that, So however you want to start.
Well, I don't know, like, you're putting me on the spot, man.
Do you want to talk about some of the experiences you've had? You want to start out that way?
Well, I mean, or do you want to talk about experiences like marriage experiences, like things that you've seen that are more like demonic, spiritual experiences? Where
I
do you
can
want to
go
start?
with a lot of places there. Like, I can start like with as a child, or as we were talking earlier, like as an adult. Like I really only seen one thing, but I feel things like in my gut, like me and my ex, we would go and look at like places to rent and immediately walk in a place and it'd be like heavy and a punch in the gut. And I'd be like, and I'd have to wait for the person or the realtor to show me the whole place. And I'm immediately like my whole body and like everything, red flags. And I'm like, well, no. Like, and I'm already envisioning staying there and I'm petrified.
Right.
And I'm like, no. And I'm just like, well, thank you for your time. And as soon as we got in the car, I'm like, no.
Right.
And it was like, as soon as I got in the car, weight lifted, and it was like, what was that? I mean, it was just, I can even like feel the feeling of the heaviness, just like a coat comes over you, as soon as you walk in there. And I've always, I guess that just discernment, I don't know, just come over you. I've been able to do that. And I'm like, that's heavy, just feels like lead's in your stomach, and I hate that. And like the one I was telling you about, I seen the thing that looked like, the only thing I can explain it was Darth Maul, when I cut the bedside light off. Said that correctly that time. And just for that split second, and that's the only time in my life I actually seen something. And like a week and a half later, I collapsed, and
so explain what it was that you saw.
I seen like, we were living somewhere that we were tormented. I was tormented in my dreams. My kids, we had a double wide, which, double wides are normally split bedrooms, masters on one end, other bedrooms on the other end. Kids would not sleep there. The house was absolutely like peaceful during the day. At night, no. I mean, it was like awful. The dog would bark at night. We would go look. We couldn't see far. The porch would only go so far. And it would go as far as it could, on its chain. And we were like, we can't see nothing. But it knew something was out there. They have that sixth sense. And just the dreams I had were tormenting dreams. And we didn't even want to go to the other end of the double wide at night. And this was a fairly new double wide too. And so it was like what is this? Like I said, we had it lit up like the 4th of July night. No light was turned off. Even the rooms nobody was in. No.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the kids, they slept in my room. They were little. They had like the little fold out couches, those little foam things. And I had the lamp on. I got it out, right? And the TV was on. And I turned over to cut it off. And for that split second, when I turned it off, that cloaked figure was right by the bed. And the best way I can describe the face underneath the cloak was Darth Maul.
Mm-hmm.
And the brightness of the eyes and the teeth with that smile. And it didn't have, like I was explaining to you, it didn't have as much black to the face. It was more red. And his smile, I knew it was a him.
Mm-hmm.
And the smile was like, I got you. And I was like, I hurried up and turned the light back on, and just like, not even like 60 seconds, gone. And I just sat up in the bed like, didn't know. And it was like a week and a half later, I was potty training my youngest, 11:30 at night. She jumps up doing the potty dance, run, come on, let's go. She doesn't make it. I holler at my ex, we need some underwear, and that's the last thing I remember. And fell and hit the toilet. She was on it. I went somewhere. I don't know where I went, but like I told y'all earlier, I remember being called back, and it was a force pulling me back. And when I woke up, it was like I was shocked back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was shaking all over. There was blood everywhere because that was like a 1/2-inch gap on my nose. My ex was mad at me. I have no idea why. But I did ask, was my legs jerking? Remember, because I had seizures
Mm-hmm.
since I was like 14, and he said, yeah, they were jerking a little bit. But I had people pray for me, and every test they did came out negative.
Mm-hmm.
I had my heart checked out. I had my brain checked out. I have one, by the way.
I don't know. That's still debatable.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's up for debate, but that's a different podcast, okay? But everything, the doctor just threw his hands up. He was like, I don't know what happened. And I was like, I do. I was like, that thing that stood beside my bed was there for me, and we weren't there not even a month after that, and we moved.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it was things like that. Experiences when I was younger with, I stayed at my grandma's. We had lived out of state. We came in. I was only 6 or 7. The windows were not open. Curtains blew up, and I knew there was 2 things. Because I heard, yeah, I know. Shh. And the blanket moved. All of a sudden I was being choked. And I was like, and I said, Jesus. And as soon as I said it, I wasn't being choked anymore. And I heard multiple footsteps being ran away. And I was like, you're 6 or 7. You're like, what just happened?
Right.
All I know is I cuddled up. I was basically inside my grandma's back. I was so close to her, and I put that blanket right up to me, and I was like, and I didn't tell anybody, nothing, because you think, they'll think I'm, psycho,
Right.
That all was your imagination. And like I was about 13 when I told my grandma, and she's like, my grandma, Christian, and she said they would taunt me when I'd go to pray and say, oh, you're going to go pray for your God, or to your God, I'm sorry. And she said I'd have to rebuke them away, and everything. And I'm like, really? I was like, all this time I thought I was, stupid, and that actually happened.
Yeah.
I mean, there was something there, and all this time I carried that, and then that brought on, y'all talked a while back, like with Jesse and his spirit of fear. I battled a spirit of fear since I was little.
Yeah.
I did not conquer that until I was 19 years old.
Mm-hmm.
and I conquered it through prayer. My grandma, prayer, and going to church, and a very godly man at church. He prayed for me, very humble man, and he got down on his knees at the pulpit, prayed for me, and told me what to do every time I felt that twinge of fear, and I conquered it. And then every time I feel that, I do what he told me to do.
Right.
And then, like, I was like, I conquered you when I was 19. I know what to do. You get out in the name of Jesus, you know. So, yeah. So
it's
then,
a constant battle.
it is. Like, and then, like, when I see it, like, in one of my kids, I tell them what that pastor told me.
Right.
I was like, because I battled it. You are predisposed
Right.
to do that.
Right.
You know, you are. It's generational. I kicked it out. It's looking, I'm going to try to get one of my kids.
Right.
I was like, you do what I tell you to do, because this came from God. It worked. I kicked it. I'm telling you what to do.
Right.
You know, I mean, and it almost, like, it was between, you know, I was 19. It was in between my two oldest. It almost debilitated me. Like, I was going to the ER, thinking I was dying, thinking I was going to go into a heart attack. I was going to go into a seizure, everything. I mean, and it was just that spirit of fear. So,
yeah.
I mean, I know. I mean, and like when I was little, you know, I mean, it was bad. You know, I was 12 years old and in the psych ward for 3 weeks. You know, so I understand that completely. And I've always said, you know, Jesse has my sympathy. You have my sympathy. I know what that is. I know how strong that spirit can be, because I fought it, and I fought it hard.
Right.
You know, I mean, and it took God Almighty, you know, and it took me putting my faith into God and saying, okay, I have to be strong in Him. I have to do what He says to do. And I had to realize that, because, you know, I was still a kid. I didn't really understand that you really have to use what God's telling you to use.
Right, exactly.
You know?
Right.
And so, yeah, but spirit of fear, I fought, and that was, like I said, almost took me out. And
absolutely.
yeah,
Yes.
and it can, you know, I mean, like, it can paralyze you.
I would
you
say,
know,
like, panic attacks, all that stuff too.
Yeah,
you know, because of things like that. Yes, absolutely.
And I deal with that all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I do Walmart Plus. I know that I can't go in Walmart and get the things that I need because I'm going to be stressed out. I'm going to forget everything that I went for. I'm probably going to park the buggy and I'm going to walk out. Yeah. So I can get on there and pick out what I need, and it's delivered to my front porch.
Yeah.
So what? It just made me think when you were, and I don't know why I didn't think about this earlier whenever we were talking about it. So you saw a cloaked or hooded figure. Saw something like that. I've seen that. Jesse's seen that. We can't say that it's the same thing because we've never, obviously, not taken pictures or, you know what I mean, like not drawn or anything like that.
It's just been like instantaneous. Yeah.
But that's odd that that's 4 of us in the family that have seen something similar to that at totally different places.
Yeah.
That just dawned on me, you know, when you were saying it that time. And like I said, it may not be the same thing, but it's similar.
And it's odd, too, how the discernment works in each of us. She's talking about the heavy feeling. I don't so much feel a heaviness when I go in somewhere that there's stuff there. I feel like something's watching me. And I can feel the anger. I feel the hate from whatever is in that hall. It's like, it's not so much that I'm scared because there's an entity. I feel the animosity coming off of those entities. And I feel like they are staring at me. Yeah. So I feel them around, but I don't feel so much like a heaviness. Yeah. It's
just
weird.
Feel uncomfortable.
Yeah,
right.
I get like uncomfortable, but it's like all of a sudden, boom, like lead in my stomach and like a gut gut punch, and it's like I said, like I can already, like I'm living there, and I can already know that I'm going to have sleepless nights and all that stuff.
Well,
like
I was
you
just
know,
getting ready to
yeah.
say that I almost am like, I will never stay at
yeah,
this place.
yeah.
Never.
I
You
can
know what
already,
I mean? Like,
I can already feel
yeah,
it. Like I can feel you tormenting me. Everything. It's like it's all wrapped up into that, and it's like,
yes.
no. Then I'm just sitting there listening to the person. I'm like, yeah, that kitchen's nice. This is a nope. You know.
Yes.
I mean, but
And it's like that with people too.
yeah,
Like, you know, because of everything we've gone through, I've said this 1,000 times. I talk to a lot of people. I have a lot of acquaintances. I have friends. But as for really close friends, I have close friends. But
Very
anyway,
few.
yeah, you know, because it's hard to open up for one, I guess you'd say, and to trust people because of the things that have happened too. But people, it's just like, yeah, you know, we'll never be good friends. Like,
Right.
you and I are not vibing, and I know good and well that what you're putting off is not what I need to be around.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, and I feel that too, and I know you all too do also with
Yeah.
people.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, okay, we can talk, but that's as far as it's going to go. You know what I mean? Like, we're good here. We're good here in the store. We're here, you know, or around other people, but we're never going to be one-on-one.
I found that out the hard way with someone. Worked with her, and I just felt like something was off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so, you know, everything is in God's timing. And sometimes, you know, He takes the long way home, and you're just like, but anyways, she was great. Everything, you know, this person was, and I was like, okay, you know, and their father died, and went to their home, and I mean, you couldn't walk through it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I was like, whoa. I mean, you take a second, like, taken aback from what the persona that she put out when, you know, you thought you knew, like, the coworker. And then they inherited, she had a double wide from the land, and she inherited her father's house. She went, do you want to go see it? And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You know, go over there with her, and I kind of seen where she got the hoarding, you know.
Right.
It wasn't as bad, but, you
Mhm.
know, and we're standing, we got done with the tour, we're standing by the door. I had my hands on my hips, and I looked down. Brand new FedEx box, and I looked down. The first time I had, like, I was the most outspoken I've probably ever been in my life. I went, what is that? I said, is that what I think it is? She went, no, they sent me the wrong thing, and I gotta send that back. It's a witch's Bible. And I went, okay. We didn't stay long. We went home. That was so heavy on me when I got home. And I was like, get off me. No, no.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I messaged her, and I was like, listen, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. What you want to be in, that's fine. I can't partake in that. I don't want to be around that.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want the things of that to be on me, anything, you know. And they were highly offended. They couldn't believe that. And they said that they threw it in the trash. They burnt it, everything. 2 years passed. Our oldest daughters are the same age. Went to the same school, same grades. They ran into each other in the hallway. Her oldest daughter has that book on top of her classroom books.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, God told me. God, I put that woman at arm's length.
Yeah.
And I knew I never went back to their house, and all that time,
Mm-hmm.
didn't do anything, nothing. And it took 2 years for God to tell me,
reveal.
to reveal why.
Yeah.
And my oldest daughter texted me right away, Mom, guess what? And I went, what? And she told me, and I was like, thank you, Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, because what would have happened
That's what
If I
Sarah
had
said.
took-
It's hard to tell.
if I took that person at their word? What could have become attached to me?
Right. Oh,
Right.
yeah,
You know.
absolutely.
I mean, and she said it was right on top of her school books.
Yeah.
And people don't believe that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they don't believe that. Oh, well,
Yeah.
you're not the one doing it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
It's
it's not,
just a
nothing's going to bother
book.
you.
It's
yeah.
just a book.
Mhm.
No, honey, it's not.
Right.
It's,
No.
no.
There's spirits attached to all that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like, it took 2 years for God to show me why.
Mhm.
And I was like, thank you, God. I was like, I knew I was onto something with that person. I just knew it. You know, I just felt it in everything. And I was like,
Mhm.
you know, and I was like, wow, through my kid, he showed me.
Yeah.
You know.
And he'll use whatever he has
Yeah.
to. you
And
know?
it was like, and my kids knew about it, you
Mhm.
know. I mean, and I was like, hey, thank you, Lord. And I was like, that was a big one. I was like, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I was always worried about was pushing stuff on the kids, like making them. I don't want to say like making them afraid. I wanted them aware of things without
Yeah.
making them afraid of every little thing.
Yeah.
And like you said, teach them how to fight against that
Yeah.
stuff, because I didn't want my kids laying in their room scared to death and in tears because something is tormenting them and they
Yeah.
have no clue how to fight it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we fought for years. I still fight all the
Mhm.
time. And I didn't have the resources.
Yeah.
I didn't have all that. So I wanted to make sure they knew that. I mean, when they would come to me, I won't lie and say that it didn't scare me a little bit when they
Yeah.
would say that, but it would make me mad too at the same time. How dare you
That's
torment
right.
my kids?
Yeah.
And that's when I would feed them, you know, when something like this happens, you reminded God didn't give you a spirit of fear.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
And like when they were 5, 6 years old, they knew the Lord's Prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, okay, every night before you went to bed, we're gonna say it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I wanted them equipped with that, but they still came to
Yeah.
me, which was fine. I wanted them to know
That's
that,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
you're not going to be in trouble if you come wake me up because
That's
something
right.
scared you.
Yeah.
We didn't have that assurance either growing up.
Yeah.
Like I remember laying in bed, and if I had a nightmare, I would just blink my eyes like I was changing the channel on the TV, so that I could change the channel in my mind of that horrible nightmare, so that I could go back to sleep
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and just try to think of something happy. And that was me blinking my eyes to change the channel in my mind to something happy and peaceful, so that I could go back to sleep, because I didn't feel that I could go knock on the door and say I had a bad dream.
And we couldn't.
No,
That's
we
why I
would've-
felt that way.
we were
You know,
more
it wasn't-
scared. We were more scared of the repercussions of knocking on the door saying we had a bad dream than what we were of being petrified of that bad dream.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I never wanted my kids to feel that. I
No.
wanted them
Uh-uh.
to feel safe, that they could come to me, to know that I'm in their corner and I'm going to fight with them.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
definitely. And that's awful that y'all had that. You know, I mean, because why would he?
That's
Be like
that's
that,
the thing
you know?
too with our family. We chose to take what happened with us and turn it around and give our kids the safe place.
Yeah.
Whereas other people in the family have had stuff happen to them and they turn it around and give it to someone else.
Yeah.
The exact same bad thing that happened to them, they do to someone else. And the same things that they may have heard growing up, like you're trash, you're a hoe, look how you're dressing, look
Yeah.
how you're acting. Instead of turning that around and speaking good into their daughter, you know you're beautiful. Don't
Mhm.
put up with anybody putting you down. Don't listen to people who try to drag you through the mud.
Yeah.
Stay away from those kind of people. They drag their own kids through
Yeah.
the mud. And I don't understand that. You
And
should want
expose them to
stuff that's horrendous.
yeah, like numerous men around them, but never knowing or even caring what is going on with their own kids. You know,
Right.
I could not imagine. It's like
no,
that's like right now. You know, my kids. call me all the time. They're grown, and my husband, he has a younger child, and she's hitting those teenage years, and so she's doing certain things, and dad might not be as popular, so it's kind of hurting him a little bit,
Right.
And he's like, I give anything my kid call me, like that. It's nothing he's done or anything.
Right,
It's
yeah.
just
Mhm.
she's hitting
girl.
those,
Yeah.
a girl hitting her
Mhm.
teenage years and
Yes.
everything, and hanging out with friends and stuff is more
Mhm.
important, and
Mhm.
dad's not popular,
Right, yeah,
I mean,
it
it's
is. Mhm.
nothing like that, but and because my husband is a good man and takes care of his kid and everything, and is
Right.
in her life and
Right.
stuff. But it's like, he's like, I don't get it. These deadbeat parents that are in there. He said, I give anything for my kid, call me.
Mm-hmm.
He said, yours, he's annoy you all day long, and
Right, yeah.
he's like, I was like, yeah, and I sit there and I'm like, yeah, they do, and I mean that, like, sincerely,
Right,
and
yeah.
I mean that,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
what would I do, I mean, I love my turds, I
Right,
mean,
right, yeah.
I do, and
Mhm.
I couldn't imagine, like,
Yeah.
them not annoying, and I'm doing air quotes, them annoying me,
Right, yeah.
all day
Mhm.
long. I've always been with my kids, and y'all know that,
Right.
the mom babysat them when I worked,
Mhm.
my mom, I didn't pawn them off on her,
Right.
we weren't raised that way,
Right.
we
Mhm.
weren't, I mean, your mom, y'all's mom has had your kids when y'all worked.
Mhm.
Right.
That's it. Or maybe when you went out to eat,
Right.
had some alone time.
Mhm.
That's it. We've raised our kids.
Yeah.
That is not part of, like we were talking earlier, part of that, I think, like that curse that was attached to that house, that people didn't raise their kids.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't get that. I've never not thought about being with my kids, even as they have been grown. They have
Mhm.
lived with me.
Mhm.
It's like we decided to take what was done to us and shield our kids from those things,
Mm.
not introduce them to it.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So I don't understand why we can all be from the same family and so many of us could be so different.
Yeah. And I understand that because, I understand that. I see that with my mom, and y'all's dad.
Right.
Mom did that. She took everything
Yeah, she did.
that happened. She was like, that's not happening with my
Mhm.
kid.
Mm-hmm.
And she showed me all the love you could
Mhm.
think of.
Mhm.
And she raised me. She didn't pawn me off on anybody. I was a total turd and brat, but I mean, hey, it's the truth. She spoiled me rotten, but I was good around other people, except when she was around. That's the truth. But it was
Well,
all,
that's how a lot of kids are. When
Yeah,
mom is
that-
around, they
yeah, but that
that's
was
just
all.
how they
Ask
are.
anybody, that was all her fault. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
But
But
it's, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's weird. Like, you're saying that about your mom, and then our uncle that just, passed away a couple years ago, never did anything to his kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, never molested them, anything like that. Yeah, he did things wrong, as a parent, but, I,
Don't we all?
yes.
yeah, we all make
yes.
mistakes.
Learn.
Yes.
And he also was dealt a really bad hand, a really hard hand, I guess you'd say, because he had 5 kids to raise as a widower,
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that was hard too, but it just makes me be like, why?
I was.
I
I get
like
what
our
you're-
dad.
Yeah, that's what I'm
why-
saying.
And then
Yeah.
sometimes I get, like, even thinking about this now, like, and I'm not questioning God. God has a reason for everything. And like we've said, if things are supposed to come out before they ever did,
Yeah.
they would have, But, at the same time, I'm like, why do we have to go through that? Why
I
was
know.
he the one that, that attached to, or however you
That's
want to
right.
say it? And
Yeah.
we were the ones that went through that,
Yeah, I know.
And, it just is what it is,
Why did
but
y'all
it's just
get this-
weird, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Why did y'all get the short end of the stick?
Yeah.
You know. that's not fair or right. I mean, and because he would like we were talking before to this to mom, that was her older brother, and he had the protective vibe.
Right.
He
And
never
he
touched.
did.
He never touched her. He never did anything to her. He loved her. He loved his younger brother. You know, they had that connection, like we were talking about. They all went through hell. You know, they all went through that hell that they went through, losing their mom and their dad and the evil stepmom, all that bouncing around. I know mom told me the aunt and uncle they went to up in Ohio before they went to the ones that kept them. Mom said that was the most happy they had ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, and then when they were only up there a few weeks, couple weeks. Mom said when they had to leave, they were crushed.
Yeah.
She said because that was the only love that they had had.
And there was another aunt that would have taken them too, but
In Mount Hope.
but she just couldn't take all three of them. She couldn't afford to take all three of them, and they didn't want to split them up. So of course they ended up at the worst of all the places that they could have been.
Yeah, Mom said that they all cried when they had to leave the one in Ohio. So because that was the first time in forever they had felt love. Yeah, and I was like, "Gosh, Mom, just break my heart," you know?
Right.
You know. So
But they had that love from their mom.
yeah,
But Dad was the oldest, and he was 9 when she passed away.
Yeah.
So they knew what it was like to have the love of a parent, but then that was taken away, and they were with a parent who got with a woman who mistreated him. He really, I don't think, really knew how to be a parent. He was so jacked up from the floor up, he didn't even know how to be a parent. So it was that probably was the first love that they had honestly felt in years.
Yeah. And it's a wonder.
And the security.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of it too, Dad had that personality of control.
Yes. Yes.
And it's probably where he was the oldest. He probably felt obligated to protect your mom and their brother from all the stuff that was going on. Yeah. So that could sort of be why I think that he was different from them. Yeah. And he was controlling, even with them. Yeah. Even like there was like a sibling rivalry between him and his brother when they got to be adults.
That's right there.
Oh. The popping. But it was like a sibling rivalry. Yeah. And I think that maybe it's because my dad wanted control and my uncle was a grown man and he wanted his own control. He no longer wanted to be controlled by my dad. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe the things that we went through was in his own mind a way of controlling. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's quite
almost
possible.
like he fed off the power. It was like, you all need to do this or you all need to do that. I'm in control. Like if you all do what I tell you to do, you're going to be safe. If you do what I tell you to do, then tonight you can sleep. If you do what I tell you to do, it was always he had to control all the circumstances. Yeah. So maybe that's why we went through what we went through. His personality was different than theirs. Yeah.
And something happened, like to change that.
But at the same time, he would have given his life. He would have laid down his life for either your mom or the other one, period. He would have. And he would have done that same thing for us too, I feel like. Yeah. Except when the other thing was involved and it was manipulating every circumstance that there was. Yeah. And that it's hard because you know that he was a good person to a lot of people. And that's what we talk about. He was a good person to a lot of people. And there were times that we knew that he really loved us. But it's just hard to, I don't know, to still love that same person, if that makes sense. Because it's two totally different people in one body. Yeah. So I guess like your mom said she kind of thought that she knew that something was going on.
Mm-hmm.
But you knew our dad from an outside standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about him before you knew any of this stuff? How did you feel?
I loved him. You know, he never was out of line to me. You know, like he joked with me, stuff like
Mhm.
that. I don't know if y'all remember this when y'all lived in the second house. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think. Yeah. Okay.
On out. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's when Little Caesars did the pizza in long boxes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
pizza
The
when you got two of them.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Crazy Eights.
Yeah.
Yes.
And me and Mom came over, and I think it was after school, and we were sitting there, and he's like, yeah, you know, go ahead, get your peas, you know? Yeah. I ate a whole pizza. And he went, my God, sissy, you feed this girl? You know, and I was like, she was like, apparently not, you know? And I was like, you know, and I was like, I was hungry, you know? Uncle said I could, you know? And I was like wiping my mouth, like,
Yeah.
pizza, you
Yeah,
know? Like, he done that look he gave, you know? Like,
Yes.
he's like, my God, you feed her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I ate a whole pizza, you know?
Yeah.
And back then, I was tiny,
Right.
you know? And I was like, he was like, where's it go? And I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I was like, but I didn't, like, you know, but then there were things like, when you were moving to the third house and we
Mhm.
had a truck and we were helping you, I could tell my uncle, Loving, I was like, he's a bully.
Mhm.
Because in front of everybody, I don't know if you remember this, I do, but like it was yesterday, you did something that made him mad and he kicked you in the butt in front of everybody.
Oh yeah, that sounds about right.
And you put your head down and walked in the house. And I stood there. I remember Mom was standing at the back of the truck, like looking at him like, why would you do that? You know, like what we went through, you know.
Mhm.
And Mom told us, that made me so mad. She said I wanted to go over there and hit him. And he was running, doing his hands like this, and
Mhm.
she don't listen, and blah blah blah. He didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I don't remember it.
that was so common.
Yeah, he just raised his leg
But-
up and kicked you right in the butt in front of
Yeah.
everybody. And I was like, that's humiliation. And I just remember, I was dating my ex at the time, and he was beside me, and we were like, and it was just like he was still running his mouth, and we were like, did we dare go in and after her? I wanted to run in after you, you know? I mean, and I was like, did we dare move? What did we do?
Right. Because
You know?
that's how he was. You know what
You
I mean?
know,
Like,
like-
you didn't. Yeah.
But I was like, you know, I mean, if he did anything to me, you know,
Right.
my dad would have came
Right. Mhm.
and been in the yard, you know. But I mean,
Yeah.
but it was just like I was just like,
And he did that because it was humiliating, like not just in front of you, but that's what he would do to us. But I told
To
him
bring
later
you
on,
down.
I was like, it didn't just like bother me. It physically hurt me because my back was messed up there. And when he
Yeah.
would do that, he wouldn't do it real hard, but it was just enough to jar me. And it would hurt my back so bad too. And I didn't
Yeah.
like at the time, I didn't know it. I just figured he just kind of kicked
Yeah.
me harder or whatever. But yeah. And I told him later on, I was like, yeah, you used to do that. I said, and it would hurt. I didn't kick you hard enough to hurt you. I said, no, you may not have thought you did, but you did, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, because
was-
we didn't know my back was messed up at
Yeah.
that time. I just knew it hurt, you
Mhm.
know? So yeah,
yeah, it was to assert his authority.
it was. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're on my territory. You're gonna do
Mhm.
what I say.
Yep.
You know,
That's-
and to show everybody, look what I do. I
I
hold the reins
Mhm.
here. You
Mhm.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was the first time I thought he's a bully. You know,
Mhm.
and I was like, wow. And I just wanted to run after you. You know, I was like, and I was just like, all of us were frozen, even Mom.
Mhm.
But I think I could tell by my mother she was livid.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, cause she could not stand any type of that because of what they went through.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was just like, what do I do? You know, she was like, what do I say to him? What do I do?
Right.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and she just didn't know what to do. She was just like she wanted to say his name and be like, what are you doing?
Right.
You know, what are you doing?
But then again, everybody knew his temper and his attitude too, and you
Yeah.
would have gotten a mouthful also, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, not that she was scared of him. I'm just
No,
saying
no,
sometimes
she
you
was
just
his-
knew better than to
She was his sister.
say anything. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because sometimes it's not even worth the
Yeah.
whatever, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, that was, I mean, like, and then all the other times, you know, just, hey, how you doing? You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, cutting up and joking and all that. But that was like the only time, you know, that
I don't remember it, but like we said, I'm not surprised
I do, like I said,
at all. I'm
like,
sure you do.
Yeah, because it was like the only time I seen, and a lot of other times it was just like maybe him running his mouth to y'all, get this
Mhm.
done. Did you do this? Do this, you know, or like if we would be over at one of y'all's houses, you know, he would be running his mouth to mom about something y'all did or didn't do, you know. But I'd go to like either your room or you know, something like, and you just be like, you know, or something like that, you know. So
And like we said, he did that because, you know, it would take
away
The spotlight off of
Yeah.
him
of
and
Yeah.
what
of
was
the
going
things
on.
that were going on. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I totally. You see that now,
Right.
but at the time, you know.
Yeah, people
Yeah.
you didn't know,
Yeah.
you know, so well your mom went through a lot of trauma
She did.
at a very young age
Yes.
too.
Um.
We know the one incident, and I don't know if you want to talk about that, but were there other things that she'd ever talked about?
Um.
Are you comfortable talking
I'm
about
fine.
that?
I mean,
Okay.
she's not gonna fuss at me about it.
No, she's not. That's right.
I mean, no, get it out there. I mean, the whole point of this is nothing should be in the dark anymore.
That's
you know?
right.
I mean, and it's rumored that when she was 6, she was molested by an uncle. We're not quite sure who that uncle was. Some say it was the one that wound up raising her. But she said absolutely not, it was him, not him.
Okay.
She said, I can't remember who it was, but it definitely was not him. She remembers it was, they stood her on a bar stool and raised their hand up her dress.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened there. And then when she was 11 or 12, she took me to that house. A room right off of the main room. Her daddy, our grandfather, raped her. And it was so weird. Years later, there was a yard sale in the yard of this house. We drove past it. She went down and turned around and went back. She was really acting very weird. And she got to talking to people. And these people had turned like the side of the house. Like they had turned it into like a garage or barn. And she told him, she said, I used to live there. She said, can I walk in there? And they were like, well, sure, okay. She said, well, we've turned it kind of into, as you can tell, a garage, barn. Or she said, that's fine. You know, they opened the doors and, you can see they like kind of gutted it, and it was wide open dirt floor, everything, She goes to this one room at the back. She opens it and she just stands there. And she's just standing there, and I'm like, Mommy? She's like, and she just smiles at me. Like, you know how my mom was, She's like, those other people are talking up storming. Mom like jumps back into this world and everything, and she's like, well, I thank y'all and everything. And we got back in our vehicle, and she was just not present.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, Mommy, what is going on? What is wrong? She went, the house? I went, yeah. She went, that room? And I went, yeah. She went, that's where it happened. And I went, what? You know, I was oblivious. I was like, what are you talking about? She went, that's where my daddy raped me.
Oh my gosh.
I went, oh, okay. And I reached over and I went like that and I grabbed her hand in the truck.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had tears, silent tears going down her face. And she went, why didn't I scream? She said the house was full of people. She said, why didn't I scream? She said, why didn't I say something? And y'all will understand this. But she went, how can a daddy do something like that?
Mm-hmm.
She said, how can a daddy do something like that? And she just had tears and they just kept coming. And I just kept squeezing her hand. And I said, I'm sorry, Mommy. I'm sorry. She went, it's okay. She squeezed my hand back. And I was like, well, this got heavy from a yard sale to, you know,
Right, yeah.
you know, this,
Yeah.
you know, I did not anticipate it. And the house is now gone. And I can tell y'all off of this where it used to stand and stuff. But yeah, I did not, when we got back in the truck, anticipate
Right.
all of that, you know what I mean? Because I had asked her, like, people had said stuff about what happened when she was younger. What happened when she was younger. And my mom had always been upfront with me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I mean, I had asked her when I was 6 because I had heard
Right.
sex.
Yeah.
What is that? She was like, that happens between a husband and a wife. And she said, and I will explain that more when you're older. And that satisfied my 6-year-old,
Right,
you know, but she was always very upfront with me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept hearing about what happened when she was younger. And so when I was about 11, I asked her one time, I was like, what happened to you? You know? And she told me, and I was like, floored.
Uh-huh.
You know, you could have blew me over with a feather. And she just said it, and that was it. It was like, you knew the way she said it. That was the end of the conversation.
Right, yes.
That was as
Uh-huh.
comfortable as
Yeah.
She
was talking about it.
Yes.
I mean, and she never really got comfortable talking about
I'm
it,
sure.
you know, and I don't think she ever really got the therapy that she deserved in it.
Mm-hmm.
She never really did.
Right.
You know, she never really got the, you know, she never really got the relief she
Right.
deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She never got the sorry.
Right.
And y'all can probably totally relate to this. You never get the peace, the relief,
Mm-hmm.
the sorry. She never got that.
We may have had an apology, but it was not. It was
Kind of forced.
forced, and it wasn't.
Sincere.
It was as sincere as it could be, owning up to, like, I don't know how to put it. I think he was sorry. I don't know if it was that it happened or that we actually started standing up to
I was
him.
getting ready to say that we were confronting him about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he felt like he needed to say that.
Yeah.
So if your mom didn't say anything, how do you know how it all came out? Like how anyone found out about it?
About Mom.
Yeah, and her dad.
I honestly do not know. I don't know if she actually eventually
Ended up telling
Yeah,
somebody.
she eventually did tell
She may not have
somebody.
screamed or said anything at that
At
point.
that
but-
Yeah, because it did come out eventually, but I don't know how. She didn't say anything at that time, but I am not quite sure how.
Well, if she was that young and something that traumatic happened, there's going to be evidence
yeah,
that something happened.
yeah.
So,
And Mom, you know, like us, developed upstairs, you know,
Mhm.
very early. And she said she was very developed at that age, you know.
Mhm.
And so, but that's a very good question. And I never asked that because it was such a touchy subject.
Oh
with
yeah,
her,
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
And, but yeah, as far as I've always known, it was known, you know, so.
Mm-hmm.
I just, I wasn't there, I've not heard, but what I could imagine was there was probably a change in both people when they went back around everybody that was in the house.
Yeah.
It would have to be.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
she said there was a lot of people there. She said, why didn't I say something? And
But that shows you just how,
Determined and demanded.
and
Yeah.
how, I mean, like, just his mind frame, my lens, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you have to not be right
Right.
to do that,
Right.
or just not care
Right.
to have that many
Yeah.
people around and be like,
That's what I'm saying. Somebody
Yeah.
had to have noticed and been like, something just happened.
right,
Yeah.
Because you know then well, there's going to be evidence
Yeah.
that something has happened traumatic to someone
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
that age.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So she never did tell me, and I never, you
So
know.
somebody probably saw it, saw the evidence.
Something.
Yeah. That's a very good question. I never did know, but I just know that it's, like I said, I've known for 30-some years. So,
Right.
yeah.
And I remember conversations about that too.
Yeah.
Somewhat,
Yeah.
vaguely. I mean, not
Not in detail,
not vaguely, but not
Yeah.
detailed as like,
just that something
Something
had
had
happened
happened.
between,
Yeah.
yeah,
you know, their dad and your
Yeah.
mom. I remember that. But yeah, I don't know. That just,
Yeah.
I don't even know what the. It's another thing, like what we had, you know, a couple episodes ago. Like, I know this stuff. I've known this stuff for
Yeah.
years, and still, like right now, just hearing it, it just blows my mind to actually like think about it. You know,
Right.
to actually try to put
That's
everything in
what I'm saying.
perspective.
Like
you
I'm
know?
picturing in my head them coming out of this room,
Yeah.
and it had to have been obvious to the people that were there. Something just happened to this kid.
Yeah.
Something.
Even
Mhm.
if he just came out and like
Exactly.
just stayed in there, like, well, where is she?
Yeah,
Well, what went on?
right.
You know,
Yeah.
and if somebody went in there to check on her,
There was evidence.
yeah. I mean, come on.
And
Unless
she may not.
she cleaned everything up.
She
you know
may
what I
not
mean?
have
Like,
remembered what transpired afterwards either.
Mhm.
She may have said something to someone. They may have came in and asked her something, but after going through something that traumatic,
Yeah.
you may not remember what your reaction was after the fact.
And that's
You're still trying to process what just happened to me.
and that's her daddy,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, like, you know, she
The one
lost-
who's supposed to protect you and love
Yeah.
you is the one
and
who
she's
caused you
lost
the pain.
her mommy, you
Yeah.
know, and so she's all, they went through so much, you know, like in
That's another thing that makes me wonder what if anything happened to him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that we don't know. You know,
Right.
yeah.
because there's
It just seems like it's more than just war related,
yeah,
Yeah.
more
Like-
than just shell shock.
mhm.
Yeah.
There's something definitely wrong.
Because I guess you
There.
would say the MO with the men in our family is, well, it's happened to me, and therefore I'm going to do this. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right,
You know,
right,
so it kind of
right.
makes you wonder, and we'll never know. We'll absolutely never know.
Yeah.
But it kind of makes you wonder what happened. You know,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then for him to carry on the way that he did and get, you know, like 40 years old and get a 15-year-old pregnant.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's just not right.
No.
Right.
You're not right in
What's
your head.
the
You
attraction
know,
there?
Right.
That, you know,
Right.
why are you not attracted to
People your own age.
Yeah.
yeah.
at least in the 20s or the 30s? You
Like-
know?
And I sort of feel like that's another control thing.
yeah.
I met a guy at a lake and he was older and I was not interested. He kept
Yeah.
talking to me and all this. And he was old enough to be my dad.
Yeah.
And I told him that. I was like, dude, I'm not interested. You are old enough to be my dad.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I like young girls because I can mold them into whatever I want them to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I looked at him, I said, dude, I am not moldable. I
Yeah.
can think for
That's
myself.
right.
I can take care of me. You need to go on. You just need to go on.
That's right.
I was like, no, if that's what you're looking for, is someone to mold into whatever image you think you want them to be, you need to just go on because
That's right.
I'm not interested in that.
That's
I had
right.
been controlled my whole life, and this man ain't gonna come in and be
No,
like, oh, I'm
uh-uh.
gonna control you too. So I think it's that control thing. It's that I want a younger person that I can control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they are easily manipulated.
Exactly.
You know, and they don't they're not mature enough to know exactly.
No,
they
they're
think they are. You
Yeah,
know, we
they're not
always did.
mentally-
We thought
Oh,
at
yeah.
15, 16 that we knew
mentally
everything
and
about
emotionally
everything.
mature enough to deal with that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
And you know, like today, I had 2 18-year-olds that came in for me to do x-rays on, you know, for my job. I've never looked at them and thought, even if they're nice looking, it's like never even been in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
They still look like kids.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
You know, it's never been like, oh,
yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like,
He's legal.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's never,
Yeah.
it's
No,
never
it's
been
still-
like that.
He's a kid.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, of course, I'm married too, but you know,
Even when I was
You
single.
You might have needed to have said that first. Yeah.
Right. Even when I was single, I would have these young guys messaging me, and I'm like, "Listen, you are old enough. You're like a year or two older than my son."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Well, age don't matter." I said, "To you, it might not, but to me, it
Yeah, it
matters."
does.
That's right.
I'm sorry. I've done raised my kids. I don't want another one.
No,
That's right.
and that's
I was
how
like,
I feel.
I'm-
I'm like,
yeah,
I
I'm
don't.
not interested in that. I was like,
No.
and I mean,
I want to be
my-
like, come
my
here, let me give you a
stepdad or
mama
my-
hug. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that, but
You're-
not like
you could
anything
be
else. You
their
know?
stepdad and you're 2 years older than them. I mean, seriously, no.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I just, and that's
And
what
I was like, I saw them too much like my kids because
Yeah.
they were too close to the age of
Yeah.
my kids.
and that's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. Like, I've never.
And then, like, my ex-husband, like, my oldest son had a friend over, and the boy had gone through a lot, and he was talking to me about it. And I could relate because I had gone through the stuff that he had gone through. So my ex-husband's like, "Oh, you were flirting with him. You want that boy." And I mean, he talked to me like I was total trash because this boy talked to me
Mhm.
and could open up and talk to me
Yeah.
about the things that he had gone through. And he talked to me like, he was like, "You want him. I know you want him." I'm like, okay, that is sick on so many levels.
Yeah.
But in his mind, in his warped mind,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you did.
But that's another thing, a way to torture me
Mhm.
because he knew what all I had gone through. So
Mhm.
then he tried to turn it around like, "Oh, you're just like him. You want these young kids too."
Yeah.
Mm.
And him in the garage when he fired that gun, knowing
Yeah.
that that's how my brother killed
Yeah.
himself and would not answer me and made me think that he had killed himself in the garage the same way my brother had killed
Yeah.
himself.
Mhm.
It just anything to try to destroy me
Yeah.
mentally
Mhm.
and emotionally, anything.
Yeah.
Yes.
That just reminded me of that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just you talking about that.
Yeah.
The fact that he put me down so bad. You're just in love with that boy. You just want to sleep with him and this, that, and the other. Because this boy had gone through traumatic stuff and I could relate to the stuff that he
Well,
had gone
that
through.
boy found an adult he could finally confide in
Right.
and find
Yes.
comfort in
And I
as
wasn't
an
even
adult.
I wasn't even like in a room by myself with this kid.
Yeah.
And he was like 17,
your ex
18
didn't
years
see it
old.
that way.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
he may have been, I think he was about 17.
Yeah.
But all the other kids were around too.
Yeah, but your ex didn't see that. He
No,
had
no.
blinders on. He just saw the tunnel vision that you're
Right.
talking to another man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's how my ex was.
Right.
Yeah. I couldn't even talk to y'all.
Right.
You know, I couldn't even come around y'all.
Right.
You know, I'd be around y'all, what, 30 minutes to an hour? And then be like, what are y'all talking about?
Yeah.
How-
It
how
was
long
always
y'all
right
there?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that phone be going off, bing, 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 bing. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, message them. You know, I mean, you
Right.
know who I'm around.
Right.
I mean, like, good grief.
Right.
You know, I mean, and it would just be like, as soon as I got home.
Well, he made everybody uncomfortable to be around him.
Yeah. I mean, and it was like, oh my gosh, you know who I'm around.
Right. Nobody wanted to be around him
Yeah.
with my ex. Nobody wanted to be around him. So he made it to where nobody wanted to be around him.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. He was absolutely the perfect image of a man and a saint. I always wanted to be around that man.
Okay, and on that note, I say we go ahead and finish up this episode and change the subject for a new episode.
Because that lightning bolt's going to be big. It's going to hit Jenny. I mean, because she told a whopper of a lie, and me and Heather got to get out of this room.
Yes.
Yes,
But
that was a big lie.
Now let's go ahead and wrap up for that one. And because there's more that we can talk about that is and isn't on that subject. So we'll just save that for another episode.
Isn't on your ex-psychotic wonderful man?
Yes.
Which
Okay.
one? Which one of us?
The more psychotic. But anyway. So we will finish up with this episode, and we'll see you next week or talk to you next week.
And of course, you know how to find us on survivingdarknesspodcast.com. And that gives you all the links to whichever platform you want to listen to. I mean, not look at. You can't
And you
see
can
us.
message us on there too with the little envelope. It'll go straight to our email.
Yes.
But have a good week.